You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hello, hello, hello. Yes, we made it to 500. This is indeed episode number 500 of Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. And as ever, I'm your host, Steve Adams, or Mighty Blue. And for those of you who have listened to our show from the beginning, as well as those of you who have joined us later, my first thank you is to you, my listeners. Obviously, this wouldn't be worth doing if all I was doing was talking to thin air, but I'm not. I know there are quite a few of you out there who listen to all our guests and who tell me that they get a lot from those guests. Several of you have even told me in the past that my show is the reason that you've gone on to attempt, and in many cases complete, an Appalachian Trail through hike. I've got to say, that just fills up my heart. It really does. Now, I thought long and hard about who to invite on the show today to celebrate with us on such an occasion, and I was able to get the person I wanted. If you've been listening for some time, you'll know that I've had Jessica Mills, now Jessica Hawkins, on the show several times. In fact, another podcast on the Hiking Radio Network is Jessica's complete 2018 through hike of the Continental Divide Trail, and that still gets downloads, even though we did it 7 years ago. In fact, one day last month, we had nearly 50 downloads for the last episode. So if you haven't heard it, you might want to check it out after you've listened to today's show. Now, I normally have a pre-recording call with our guests, but I decided to think about the questions I'd ask Jessica without that initial call. I think I know her well enough from our previous conversations to trust that I'll get the questions right, so I went with it. You'll find out shortly how that went. Even though it's the 500th episode, I'm keeping our structure the same as usual. So we'll be catching up with our Mighty Blue Class of 2025 members today, with Beth and Andrew, who are in Massachusetts, followed by Dave, who has left the White Mountains and is into Maine, his last state. They're going to be on after Jessica. But I have a few other things to tell you about during the show, and I guess I can tell you one of them now, as well as to remind you of another that I think I've already mentioned in a previous show. Actually, I'll get that one out of the way first. This year at the Alder Gathering in Abingdon, which is from October the 10th to the 13th, I've been invited to take the Saturday evening keynote slot and put on a live podcast. Never tried it before. It may be awful, but I'm going to give it a shot. I've even hired my friend Austin Wallace to come and film it, so it'll be released on YouTube, as well, of course, here as podcast number whatever it is by that time. I'm looking forward to it, as Dana will be with me as well, because we're taking much of October off to drive up the East Coast and see some of the fall colours and plenty of places along the way. I'll also show us some of the AT, though we haven't planned it out yet. Anyway, if you're anywhere near Abingdon on the Saturday night in October, come along and see how it goes. It'll be nice to see you. The other thing I've just agreed to do is the Woods Hole weekend, which will be held, not surprisingly, at Woods Hole Hostel on September the 19th to the 21st, with an optional extra day at the beginning, where we'll have an overnight campout near Dismal Falls on the AT. Bruce Matson is heading it up, with previous guests Clay Bonham Evans, former Mighty Blue class member Joanne Flagg or Garmin, as well as Ramdina of the YouTube channel, and a young lady I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, Becca. It should be a lot of fun, and if you'd like to come along, you should get online and book it through Woods Hole Hostel. I'll add that link to the show notes. And by the way, Bruce will be on in a couple of weeks, maybe next week, with more details to share with you all. So now, enough of me blabbing on. Let's meet my friend Jessica Hawkins, or the wonderful Dixie. Our guest today for our 500th podcast is somebody who's been here a few times before. This is Jessica Hawkins, universally known as Dixie. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great, and congratulations, by the way.
Well, talking of congratulations, I think the last time we spoke was after your Florida Trail Through hike, but you've done quite a bit since then, not only in hiking, but a substantial life change or two. You got married to Rodney and had an immediate family with Gray. Then last year, along came Bratcher. First up, congrats to all of you. It must be wonderful for you.
Thank you. It truly is. I honestly started thinking that I'd never have the family and the white picket fence, as you've mentioned, and whatever. I started to think that just wasn't going to happen. So I do feel very fortunate.
You got them. It's fantastic. And so how has this changed your approach to hiking, which is not only a love of yours, but also a career as well in many ways?
Oh, it's definitely mixed things up for me. It's been a challenge to go from somebody who was just very independent and did whatever I wanted to, whenever I wanted to,
Sure.
and then to go to kind of instant mom, because even though I didn't have my son yet, I had my stepdaughter, Gray, and so kind of going into that role, it started leaving less and less time for hiking and the thing that, has kind of been the center of my world. And then, I married somebody who knew what I did though. So he never has ever expected me to give any of that up. And it's just funny that it kind of is like the right person for you, or for me at least, is the person that you are willing to give it all up for, but that would never ask you to do that. And so it's kind of interesting how that works. But that's
pretty perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. And so we've, had to kind of rearrange some things. And especially with my son, unfortunately, he was colicky when he was born. So that was...
Oh, Jessica, I remember all the posts. You were struggling so much, and I know you must have been so supported by your tribe. You've got a massive tribe out there anyway, and it was tough. I know it was, and I saw all these posts and thought, oh my gosh, this is not going as well as she'd hoped.
Yeah, no, I mean it's no, it was definitely not going well for like the first 4.5 months, but
sure.
Determination that you experience to finish a through hike transfers over to other areas in life. And so I was determined to get to the bottom of it, the root issue, and we did. And so we were able to, mitigate that, and he's no longer in pain and he's doing great. He is still what I have referred to as a dragon baby, just one of the babies that's like, they're not good at being babies. They're ready to be grown up and walking around, and so that's him. So he's still in the dragon stage right now, but it's manageable now. We can actually go do things, and so. But immediately when he was born, I wanted to have him out on the trails doing day hikes and things like that. So, but your priorities have to shift a little bit. So,
and. I know that you and Rodney did Kilimanjaro together, and by the way, that looks horrendous to me. And I think it was quite early in your relationship. How was it for you hiking with your husband? Because you're normally a solo hiker, aren't you?
Yes. So that was a test. He didn't know, but we'd only been dating for about 2 months. And
thought so.
Yep. And when we went, so when I invited him to go, it was pretty early into it, and I just. Was like, hey, I'm thinking about going to Africa. I guess it had been 3 months, not a huge difference between 2 and 3, but,
not really, no.
But yeah, so, I was like, well, we're going to see how we travel together, because that's a big deal. How you travel with somebody. Do you have the similar, expectations of places you stay, things you do? How do you deal with one another when you're sleep deprived from a long flight, or just all that stuff. And then stinking on a mountain with somebody and overcoming a difficult challenge together. I wanted to see how we did with all that. And to be honest, sometimes people have gotten on my nerves when I've hiked with them. I don't know if you're the same way, but like sometimes you just like being solo, and if you have somebody that doesn't do it the same way you do, or can't get in there with you, it's just I can't do it. And so after 8 days of stinking on a mountain with him, I was like, you know what? He didn't get on my nerves the whole time. Like this might be meant to be.
That tells you something, doesn't it? Because, it's not the easiest thing. It's such a test for somebody really to go on. Yep. I met I think it was my first through hike, I met somebody who they're on their first date. They were hiking for the weekend. They had a 3-day hike was their first date. On the Appalachian Trail. Yeah, imagine that.
Oh, that could be really great or really awkward.
Yeah. But I actually asked that question because you have been a solo female hiker for pretty much most of your hiking journey. Given the popularity of your YouTube channel, do you feel an element of responsibility to other solo females? Because I'd imagine it can be daunting for many, and many of them seek their inspiration directly through you. Because I get it all the time on my program. We listen to Dixie, we listen to Dixie, we listen to Dixie all the time. So how do you feel about that? Do you embrace that responsibility?
Well, first, that is flattering, so thank you for telling me that. But I Uh, I guess I am a female, and I have always kind of, I don't know, I've never necessarily felt like I'm like the girl power channel, if that makes sense. I don't know, because I'm the kind of girl that when I'm in a room with a bunch of guys or whatever, I don't necessarily feel like I'm the only girl in a room with a bunch of guys until like somebody else points it out, if that makes sense. Like I don't, and honestly, I feel more awkward in a room with a bunch of girls. And I don't know why. It's just always been like that. Just, I guess I don't necessarily talk about makeup and hair and this and that, but backpacking girls are different. You know what I mean? So we kind of run in the same packs, I feel like, and probably a lot of the girls who go backpacking can relate to what I just said. So I guess I feel honored to encourage other women to get out there who might otherwise be timid to do so. But I guess I've never really thought about it like that. Like I just want to get girls out there. I want to get everybody out there. I feel like if we could just get folks to go spend some time on a trail, get off the internet and off the news and off the Facebook and this and that, whatever, and just focus on truly what the priorities in life are: shelter, food, water, mental clarity, and get them back in touch with nature, that we'd get along a whole lot better.
I'm sure we would. In fact, I've actually been to trail days before when people have come up to me. They're hiking the trail, they're coming through Damascus, and they've said, "You're the bloody reason I'm out here."
That's amazing.
They almost blame me. But I suspect with so many people that you have following your channel, I'm sure you're very much the reason people are out there. So I think that's a responsibility you should. I would embrace that myself, because I certainly do. When people say that to me, I think it's an honour when someone thinks enough about what you've said to them over in your case on a YouTube channel, in my case on the podcast, that you've inspired them enough to do something which is out of the ordinary.
No, it is an honor, what you said. It truly is, to know that you had an influence on somebody. And I think if you think about it too much, it can freak you out. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, your credibility is served well by the occasional videos where you point out your mistakes. They always crack me up, they do. I think it underscores your vulnerability, which I think all of us feel at some time on the trail, don't we?
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I want to be the first to be like, well, that was dumb, because, I don't want other people to make the same mistakes. And sometimes we have to. Sometimes you have to do, like, people will carry too much food, even if you tell them about that ahead of time, too much water. They're going to do it. We pack our fears. But I do think that, being able to point that out is, one, I mean, good for you. It's good growth for yourself to be able to go, okay, hey, I was kind of wrong about that, or hey, I've changed my mind on this. But two, in the hopes that other people will keep that in the back of their mind and learn from your mistakes so they don't have to do it the hard way.
Yeah. I mean, it's important. I seem to remember my first through hike, I was literally making mistakes every single day, often 2 or 3 times a day, and I just didn't do that thing again. And in the end, I got there. You walk up a mountain, you've done 5 million steps, and you made it, which is great.
Yep.
And talking of vulnerability, can you take us back to the helicopter rescue a few years ago? I know you had a bit of an incident and had to be rescued, and it isn't the rescue I wanted to talk about, though.
Okay.
I was watching one of your updates about your heart, and they didn't seem at that time, in the one I watched anyway, to be able to diagnose it. Is that still the case?
Yes, I had such a nightmare situation with that. So they found some kind of arrhythmia. They were able to recognize that when I was on the helicopter. And then when I got to the ER, they picked a little something up. Right. But they they basically said, you're not going to die right now. You're not fixing to fall over and have a heart attack. We did pick something up. But when I went to my regular cardiologist, he was like, no, we're not, detecting really anything. But they wanted me to see like an arrhythmia specialist. So I finally got in with her, and it was like a 2-month wait or something. And 2 days before my appointment with her, she had canceled for some reason all of her appointments for like a 4-month period. And so I was like, what in the world? So I kind of threw my hands up at that point, because they referred me, or they were talking about referring me somewhere 2 hours away. And so anyway, it was just a mess. And at that point, I had found out I was pregnant. And so I kind of threw in the towel on that. I was like, well, I'm not going to be hiking like crazy hard while I'm pregnant, with a bunch of weight on me. And I wasn't working out as hard. So I thought, well, I'll just kind of leave this to the wayside. Well, ever since having my son, and starting working out again and exerting myself, I have not had those same issues. So
let me share something with you then, because I was kind of shocked when I saw that, because I haven't seen all your videos over the years. I've seen quite a lot of them, but I haven't seen all of them. And I saw that one day. I think, oh my God, I wonder if she got what I had, because it was 2 years ago. I had a sudden huge increase in my heart rate. Funnily enough, like you, it was from my Apple Watch, and it spiked to 175 beats per minute.
Oh, wow.
Which is bad. Then last year on the Southwest Coast Path in the UK, it went up to 196.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And I didn't see a doctor until I got back. And it was eventually determined to be SVT, or supraventricular tachycardia, which is a kind of short circuit in my heart. As they said, they said to you, it's not going to kill you, but you've just got to watch out for it. It will go away in half an hour if you take these tablets. So I'm on this medication, which I only ever take. It's metoprolol, which I only ever take if I have an attack. And touch wood, a bit like you as well, I haven't had one for a year. And I haven't been pregnant. So maybe your issue was something like that. I mean,
maybe.
It's a really unpleasant feeling, though.
Yes, no, it's and people are like, oh, you're having a panic attack. No, it was not. But that wouldn't have put arrhythmias up on their machines, So now, otherwise, I might have believed that it could have been that, and I may have had that in addition to whatever was happening because I was freaked out, But yeah, I thought that, or some kind of little issue like that, or it may have been I was on a medication,
right.
Spironolactone for acne, and that's like the what do they call that when it's not the main purpose, but it can be also used as this like off-label use or something like that.
Yeah, off-label,
So it's normally like a blood pressure medication. Right. But I had taken it for a month and hadn't had those issues before I ever went to hike. So I don't know, but I quit taking it after that. I decided, just in case. So I don't know.
But, it struck me straight away when I saw it. But by the way, did you and Rodney actually enjoy Kilimanjaro?
Yes, we did. We really did. I mean, it is kind of nice. So you have to go guided. Now, there are a few, or maybe like one or two companies that you could, I guess, carry your own stuff. But you still have to have a guide.
Sure.
But I was like, well, I'm just going to go with one of the well-known companies and whatever. So you have porters and things like that. And I was a little weirded out about that to start with, but they look at it as such an honor to have those jobs on the mountain. I can't really describe the culture, but anyway, when you get there, you're like, okay, they like really want to be doing this. But anyway, so you have the porters and your tent set up when you get to camp, and you have really good food on the mountain, and so that was kind of nice, getting to chit chat with people, and you do your hiking just like the first 4 hours or so of the day, and then hang out the rest of the day. So the real hard part isn't until summit day. That was a challenge, but but the rest of it was really cool, and seeing the different wildlife that I would catch on my trail cam and stuff. I had a great time. But
what about Rodney? Did he enjoy it?
He actually did enjoy that, and he didn't struggle as bad as I did.
He was going to say that anyway, though.
Yeah, well, okay. So when he went with me in Arizona for a part of my AZT through hike, just a little section. When he because he hadn't been on a proper backpacking trip, that's what he kept saying. So when we woke up the morning after his first night on a proper backpacking trip, he looked at me and he's like, "We need to talk about your idea of fun." So he's like, "I don't know about all this, but also he wasn't sleeping in the big old tent that we were in on Kilimanjaro. He was sleeping in my little triplex, and even that's like a mansion for us through hikers. So anyway, but yeah, he's like, I'll continue to do these side quests, these adventures with you, whatever. He said, I'm probably not good for like a 6-month hike, but he said, a week or so I'm down with. And I think I could talk him into like a 300-mile through hike or something, but yeah.
Well, see how that goes then.
Yeah.
And I noticed you've done the West Highland Way, which I didn't actually realise you'd done. Did you do that with Rodney as well?
We did, and I was pregnant. So I was 6 months pregnant when we went out there. And so, again, I was like, being in a country so far away from home and my doctor and whatever, I was not just afraid to go walk, but to have a lot of weight on my back. I thought, I'm not going to do that.
Sure.
So we did like the end to end, instead of a proper backpacking trip. So
beautiful though, isn't it?
No, it is. And
did it a few years ago myself.
Yeah, I loved it. I really did. Now, did you have a lot of issues with the midges?
No, so I went in the first week of April, which apparently is a good time to go. So it worked out.
Yeah, we really didn't have a lot of issue either. So
cool. Yeah. Now I want to get back to YouTube for a second.
Yeah.
You've got nearly 500,000 subscribers, which is remarkable. How do you balance being present on trail versus filming content? Because I've thought about this a few times. You used to really do these long distance shots where you must have set your camera up somewhere, walked about half a mile.
Yeah.
You must have walked back for it or something. So how do you do that in the context of a hike?
Yeah, so it is, sometimes I'm like, gosh, I'm hiking this trail like 1 1/4 times or something,
Yeah.
doing all that. But aside from those shots, so those are like, I don't know, a little cringy, you know what I mean? For me, like recording it, I'm like, oh, this feels like I'm acting because I have to walk away and then walk back or whatever. So it's weird for me. I'm like, do I look at the camera? Do I not? And
because you're being filmed, you can't scratch your butt and things like that.
Yeah. So, it's just, but when I set up and I'm like putting my tent up, that doesn't feel, sometimes I forget the camera's there and I'm like, and I have to go cut it off and it's been going for a while. Or, if I'm cooking or I'm doing something I'd regularly be doing anyway, that doesn't feel so weird to me. But now recording the bugs or the time lapses or, just nature shot, anything that I'm not in, I would be doing anyway. Like, I love that. If I didn't have a YouTube channel, if it shut down tomorrow for some reason, then I would still capture those things. Like it
comes across. That sort of stuff comes
thank
across.
you.
And some of those are absolutely beautiful. And you started this when you did your first hike, 2015. At what point did you realize that this was bigger than a personal vlog? Because there must be a transition moment. You thought, oh my God, there's something going on here.
Yeah. So I think when I started the PCT, I think the guy who edits for me, Aaron, I think he believed in me having something like this way before I did myself. And, it's just like he said, you could make this your job. And I was like, you think? Like, I don't know. And he's like, you're working all these part-time jobs. Like, you should quit and really just put some time into this channel. And I was like, yeah, maybe so. And so I did, end up quitting my job to go hike the PCT. And so he, at that point, was like, you're going to see what I mean when you do this trail. And so I guess probably after the first PCT video came out, the first or second one, and I saw the difference in how he edited and, how he like understood what I was trying to convey when I captured the stuff. It's the craziest thing. It's like he lives in my brain, and so he just has a way of like putting it out there. I don't know.
And he's still doing all your stuff?
He is. Yeah.
Is he?
Yep.
Good for you. Good for him as well. So are you still doing is he still doing the drone shots or are you just still doing the drone shots?
I do still do drone shots. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And it's funny that you said it like that because for some reason everybody thinks that somebody else does the drone shots. Like it's so funny because I've had comments saying like Perk did it or Perk must carry it or Aaron must carry it and then even Rodney must carry it. And I'm like, I might not be great at it, but I can operate a controller, but the funniest one this trip, somebody said her mom must be doing the drone shot. So it's like I couldn't possibly be doing it.
I bet Rhonda loved that.
Yeah, I know, right? I screenshot it and sent it to Aaron and he thought that was great. He thought that was hilarious.
Have you ever, and I was thinking about this one again today as well when I was researching and so on, have you ever regretted turning the camera on during a difficult moment and thinking, I wish I hadn't done that?
Nope. Because you could always not put it in there. I have
That's
had
true.
more times where I wished that I had recorded difficult moments. And it's always hard to, honestly, at that time, because it's like, man, I don't feel like doing that right now. I don't feel like talking to anybody. I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like, if you're really, really cold or you're really, really sad now I can say sometimes if I feel really lonely or sad, it's nice to have it because it feels like I'm talking to somebody, maybe I don't have service, but like I have somebody I can talk to, but Aaron and I both have regrets. When I was on the CDT and it got so bad up in Glacier with the snow and we went over Triple Pass and we were worried that we were going to die in the snow for real. Like
I know you were
actually worried.
Remember we did a podcast about it.
I know. And
still gets downloads.
He regrets because his phone died. And so he was the one kind of recording some stuff. So I regret not pulling out and talking about what was happening in that moment. And he regrets not like pulling out his battery bank, but we were so like, we're going to die. That like, it just, that kind of got pushed to the side. So I still regret not capturing more of that. So I would say I have the opposite. I have regrets of not capturing difficult moments, but some people thought it was weird with the rescue situation that I, pulled out a camera and started talking to it. And I'm like, first of all, I am so, after 10 years of this, so trained now to like pull out the camera and talk about what's going on. But second of all, I thought, okay, this is a learning moment, because I've always wondered what happens when you hit the SOS button. And then third, it was like I had talked about, it was like that lonely thing. Like I'm afraid that I might be about to have a heart attack and die right now. And so I don't have service to talk to anybody on the phone. So I could pull out my phone and talk to it, and it's comforting. It calms me down a little bit. So anyway,
it's funny that you said just now you regretted not pulling your talking into your phone when you're about to die. So you regretted not reporting your imminent death. In other words, basically.
Yeah, I know, right? I regret not informing y'all that I'm about to die. No,
and I saw another one of those videos say that you admitted to being scared one night as you set up camp in Arizona. When you get nervous, and you really did look nervous in that picture, I must say. Yeah. What do you do to stay calm? Because it's lovely, by the way, because you show you chucking stuff into your pack, into your tent and so on. Then it cuts to black, and then it's next morning. It's sunny. Once again, you got through the night. No one died. It's all good. And I think it was because there was a lot of bear scat around, wasn't there? Yes.
And the main thing that got me so in my head was getting my tent being attacked by that skunk. And so my tent got attacked by a rabid skunk, and it was like 4 a.m. And so I couldn't get out of my head, animals are going to attack my tent at night. I mean, it was just like drilled into my brain. So that particular night I had been seeing a lot of bear poop. And so I was like, you know what? A bear is going to try to eat me tonight. Like that's all that my brain would do. And even though I go, okay, I've set up my tent. I don't know how many times I've slept in a tent, how many times. No bear has ever disturbed me. I know that doesn't mean that it can't, but it's just the odds are obviously more likely that I'm going to wake up and nothing's going to happen bad than something's going to happen. So honestly, you just have to suck it up and deal with it. You have to go, okay, I can sit here and like shiver in my boots all night and make myself sick over it. Or I can get ready for bed, turn off my headlamp and go to sleep like I do every night. And so now I did. And I do also have podcasts that I download. So if I need to hear a voice, or I will have like some Netflix, like a comedy, movie on there. So I can watch a little bit of that while, I get ready for bed. So, so those help me.
So get back to hiking now. A couple of more general questions. What's the one piece of gear that you'll never leave behind now?
Probably my inReach. I mean, given like, a Sawyer squeeze is really nice, right? To not have diarrhea. Like you can cowboy camp. I don't want to be without a Sawyer squeeze. I really don't want to be without my stove because I like warm food and you can boil water. But worst case scenario, having that inReach that I could push the SOS button when I needed it. I never want to be in a situation where I don't have that ability.
And it worked. It worked, didn't it?
It did.
Worked perfectly. And how much has your gear changed over the years? I mean, I know you test stuff out, but have you pretty much dialed in what works for you? And so you know what, if you were going for a hike tomorrow and you weren't testing any gear out, you know what you take, do you?
Yes, pretty much. The only thing that I haven't truly like settled in 100% is a pack. That's so crazy because
Wow.
I know. And I've tested out so many of them, but it's just, I don't know. There's just not been one that's like, oh man, this one is above and beyond. Like I've liked a lot of them for some reason or another. There are pros and cons, but there's not one that's just like, now there have been some that are like real bad, but like the budget ones are not as good, right, as others. But like, I don't know. Yeah, there's just not one that I'm just going to sing all the praises to. So,
do you always get your, and I found this, I'm a big guy, and yet I got a medium pack. I went to Z Packs and they said, you should wear a medium. Mm-hmm. And so being fitted for a pack was a really important thing for me because I would have bought a large almost naturally, Right. And yet medium was so much better for me.
Interesting. Yeah.
Do you get fitted? Do you get fitted?
I mean, I measure myself, and then based on their measurements or whatever, each of the pack, but I haven't had a company actually fit me. So maybe that's what I need to do.
Yeah, might be worth it.
Thank you for the suggestion.
You know what, Jessica? I think they'll be delighted to do it for you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Maybe I should do that. Yeah.
And how has your hiking style evolved since your first long distance hike, which was the Appalachian Trail? Are there any habits or approaches you've had to unlearn over the years? Because you picked up stuff, bad habits, I suspect, in the first few weeks of that trip. Did you start having to unlearn things?
I mean, I can tell you one bad habit that I need to get out of, and I never have, and that's not getting out of camp early enough. Like, so
snap.
I know that doesn't really answer your question. I can't think of any others that I necessarily, I mean, things like you learn those hard way things again, like not leaving food in your hip belt pockets, and because mice will, chew through them and whatever. So Rodney learned that in the Grand Canyon. We had a little critter box at camp to put snacks and things like that in. And he forgot to empty out his hip belt pockets. And I forgot that he wouldn't know that. So I was like, well, obviously the critter box is here. You should have known to do that. But like, he didn't learn yet to not do that. And, most of us learn that after we get a hole in something or hear about somebody else doing it. So, but yeah, other than the bad habits that I just still can't shake. Yeah, probably not.
You've adapted yourself to it. So you know what you're doing. Yep. That's the lovely thing for me. When I went up on my second AT hike, I remember going down the hill from the top of Springer and immediately feeling comfortable, thinking, yeah, I know what I'm doing now. I know how to do this. I wasn't looking at I wasn't looking at every burned out tree as a bear and every root as a snake. I just kind of walked on because I knew what I was doing.
That is so funny. Though, I can say the snake thing, I don't know, after you're out in the wilderness for so long, it's not even that I'm not terrified of them or anything like that. I mean, I don't want to step on a rattlesnake, but I'm not just, when I see them, I'm like, okay, cool, that you're there, I'm here, we're okay. But it's funny to me, I can be in a grocery store or like at home and see something with kind of a snake shape and my brain's like, oh, snake for a second. And I'm like, what? I'm in civilization right now. And so it is interesting the things that, when you're out there that you kind of look out for. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I've been in the woods a little while, so got to come back to civilization now.
And you referred to it just now. You recently completed the Arizona Trail. I think that's about 800 miles, something like that.
Yes.
And it looks like you got to see your family during that hike. Obviously, you were hiking with Rodney for some time. And I think your mother had Bratcha, is that right?
Yes.
Right.
So,
does the solitude of those longer distances still appeal to you? Or have your new life circumstances modified how you approach hikes now?
That's a great question. So I will say that it was very difficult to go from hiker mode and then my 0 days going to mom mode. There was no like relaxing day in town, like especially a double 0. So 1 0 day, you get all your chores done. The second 0, you really get to relax. There was not that on this trek. So that was difficult. And I do think it would have been better for me to start with a shorter hike, whether it was like the Colorado Trail or a trail that's closer to maybe 300 miles or so. An 800-mile trek through the desert in a dry year was tough, while still pumping breast milk. But I don't regret doing it. But, you know, it was interesting because probably about 200 to 300 miles in, I was like, okay, I've gotten what I need from this hike as far as mental strength, kind of dealing with myself. Because sometimes you just need to get out on trail and kick the crap out of yourself. You know what I mean? To like get out of your head.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
If you're depressed, if you whatever. And so probably about 200 to 300 miles in, I felt like I had gained what I needed from that trail, but there was still like, you know, 500 to 600 miles still to go. So it was,
but that's what I mean. But that's what I mean. You didn't have to do it, or is your mindset still, you're not worried about hiking. You like through hiking.
I do like through hiking.
So that's the thing, isn't it?
Yes, it's a challenge for me. I started at the start line and I'm gonna finish at the finish line. And so, yeah, it is the challenge for me of the whole thing. And I do enjoy, I have grown to enjoy backpacking trips. I should say that has also changed over the years, because while I was pregnant, I did go on several shorter backpacking trips. I really, oh my gosh, Steve, I love the Everglades so much.
Really?
Yes. If I was like an old maid, I would go live in the swamp like Marie Laveau. I would just, I could just live in the swamp and be happy. But my husband is like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, come on, gators, water moccasins, what's not to love, you know?
Yeah, don't see that at all.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, it is still the challenge for me. When I started, I'm going to finish it. And so, yeah.
Quite right too. I can totally buy into that. Now, for the last few questions, I want to look forward a little bit. Given the popularity of you and your videos, as well as this new married life, how do you see the next 5 years or 10 years even? Because you're coming up on, I guess, 40 now. Are you thinking in terms of your hiking or your channel or both, or is there a landscape at which, or is there a horizon at which that ends?
I don't think that it ends. I hope that as my son gets older, and you know, we do want to have one more for sure, you know, if it happens. So, you know, there may be a short period where if we have issues again and can't go out with a baby or whatever. But as my children get older, it's something that I want to share with them. Like, I hope that they like it. They're going to have to go for a little while just to see if they do. You know, at some point, if they're like, I really dislike this, then that's fine. But I'm just...
It's like you've got to try something that's on your plate to eat. You don't have to eat it if you don't really like it, but you're going to try it.
Yeah, you're going to try it. You're going to give it a good go, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but yeah, I really hope that one day my son would hike the Florida Trail with me again. That would be amazing. I would love that. Or the AT, or, you know, whatever, just any of these things. So I don't see myself stopping. I see myself, you know, enjoying these things with my children as they grow older. But you know, there may be hiccup points here and there where I have to delay it or something like that, just because it's not possible. But I don't have any intentions of stopping just because I have children, and I've always said that. And so it did feel really good to listen to my past self, you know, because I was like, when I have kids, I don't want to stop doing the things that make me feel like me. I don't want to stop doing the things that make my mind peaceful. I don't want to stop doing the things that take care of me and make me the best person I can be, because that makes you the best mom that you can be, you know, and that makes you the best wife and sister and daughter and whatever that you can be. So I was very adamant about that. Now, it was very difficult to prepare for this hike, to get out there, to actually make it happen, all of the logistics, but I did it. And so looking back, I'm really proud of myself for sticking to what I said, because in the moment I had so many doubts. Like, am I a bad mom for doing this? But looking back now, I know that this trip was exactly what I needed. So, well,
I used to say that going on a long hike, especially a 6-month hike away from home, you know, leaving your family behind, was selfish. But somebody came on my show once and said, that's not selfish, it's self-care.
Yep.
because if you don't do it, you're going to lose the part of you that attracted you to the other person in the first place.
Exactly. And that's, this whole Arizona trail trip was Rodney's idea. And it was born on the trip to Scotland on the West Highland Way. He's like, why don't you do this? And he had actually suggested I do the AT again because it is my 10-year anniversary. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's so tempting. But I thought, well, that's a whole lot to bite off. So let me go with a shorter trail like the Arizona trail.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm really glad that he's so supportive of what I do and what I love. And so I don't foresee myself, stopping anytime soon.
So finally, let's take you back to those first days on the AT in 2015. I still remember the picture of you at the Arch, which was one of your videos as well, which I think is one of the thumbnails on one of your videos. Yeah. You had absolutely no idea what would happen to you over the next 10 years. And none of us ever do, obviously. But you're in terms of hiking, it's really been a massive part of your life, obviously. If you were able to go back in a time machine and tell young Dixie one thing about anything, what would it be?
Oh, man. I don't know. That is so hard. I would probably just tell her, you're on the right track. Like, you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. I know it seems scary that you've jumped ship, jumped the rat race, committed career suicide, all the things that people told me. Yeah. But you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. And
you could also tell her, Jessica, that it works out okay.
Yeah, it works out. It works out perfect. Yeah. It works out wonderfully.
Well,
yeah.
Well, look, Jessica, I really appreciate you coming and joining us on the 500th episode. You've been on a few times before, and hopefully I'll be covering the through hike with you, Gray and Bratcher, and whoever else goes with you.
Oh my gosh, yes, I hope so. That would be amazing. Well, congratulations to you again.
Appreciate that. Good to talk to you, okay? See you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. I tell you, she is an absolute dream to interview. She's always engaged, and she always gives nuanced answers to every question. She's had so many changes since we last spoken, and nearly all of them were massively positive in her life. But she doesn't shy away from the negative stuff and kind of takes the hits and turns them into positives. We should all make lemonade in that way when we're handed lemons. I tell you, I am definitely going to interview her when she, Rodney, Gray and Bratcher hit a trail together. Now, my next bit of news is something I've been talking about for a few weeks now. I know we've had a donate button on our website for some time, and quite a few of you have been incredibly generous in sending me money for the shows. Yet I've never organised myself sufficiently to be able to offer donors something extra, but that changes today. And before I tell you what it is, I want to recognise this week's donors for stepping up again. And it's relevant that I should mention them now because they may choose to change the way in which they support me, but they don't have to. But this week, thanks go to monthly donors Hugh Ickrath, Kennel Poliquet, Eric Gross, James Boyd, Small World IFT, Kevin Eastman and Michael Garsh, while Eric also donated separately in addition to his monthly donation. And my friend Andrew Cohen sent a generous amount writing, Steve, congratulations on 500 episodes and hoping for many hundreds more. A small donation for all the hours of listening and joy that you have brought to so many. Andrew. Nice of you to say so, Andrew. But then Beth Becky Stengham blew me away with her latest donation, writing, congratulations on your 500th show. Every single one of them has inspired me. Beth. To all of you, many, many thanks, and I hope my new offerings, I suppose, may give you something back. This is what I've done. I've started my own Buy Me a Coffee page, the link of which will be in the show notes, though it's easy enough to tell you now. It's at buymeacoffee.com/Mighty Blue. If you go to that page, there will be a place in which you can donate a one-off donation, make it monthly if you choose, or join one of 5 membership levels. There are a few extras that increase as the donation increases. I'm going to tell you about one of those things after we hear from Beth and Andrew, but for right now, I'd promised to have monthly Zoom meetings for donors in the past, and this is the way I can do it. Please go and check it out and let me know if anything is wrong or makes no sense. I'd appreciate your input. For existing donors, you choose what you want to do. In the event that you decide to stay as you are, I will be in contact with you in the coming weeks to give you the extras that come with the amount you're donating. Hope that all makes sense, but feel free to reach out to steve@hikingradionetwork.com and I'll make sure that I respond to you all. Now, let's catch up with Beth and Andrew. And we're back on with Beth and Andrew. Hey guys, how are you today?
Hey, good.
Good.
Where are you?
We are right now in Dalton.
Dalton,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Oh, you're running out of states. It's getting real, isn't it? And I think you were in Connecticut last time we spoke, and the following day you met up with a mutual friend of ours, Beth. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Eric Gross, who was with us at Mount Whitney, and actually last year on the Triple Crown too of Virginia. Eric lives somewhat close and said, I'd like to come down and hike with you a little bit. And so he came and then he went over a mountain to get to us, and then he went back over the mountain to get back to his car. So that was really cool to see him and talk to him and stuff. And he had, of course, goodies for us and food and Gatorade and all kinds of stuff, and then brought us around the town because I needed to go to the post office and needed to get a package from Jen. And yeah, it was really great. It was great to see him. And then he treated us to lunch, which of course then he found out how much Andrew could eat.
You know, I think he knew already from the podcast so far. I know. Listen, so you didn't hold back, Andrew, and this is a theme once again this week. I'm afraid there's some funny things that Beth wrote. I don't think you see the texts she sends me, but they are very funny, especially when it comes to your food.
Yeah, I read them before we have a call here.
And you mentioned a 5 mile flat section, Beth, and I don't remember where that is. Does that seem like a blessing or a slog? Because I seem to remember a long flat section always seemed a slog to me. I either wanted to be going up or going down.
I don't.
It was along the river.
Yeah. It was nice.
The Housatonic, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice. I think it's a nice little change from the up and down constantly.
I didn't know that was a 5 mile stretch because the Housatonic River itself, it's this lovely river to walk past. I remember it was the hottest day of my hike when I went, and when we passed there, Trigger and I dipped our feet in the water for about an hour. It's absolutely fantastic day. Absolutely loved it. But then you said in the note that Andrew walked to a restaurant. Where on earth is that?
Restaurant. What was that?
By Salisbury?
Oh, yeah, Salisbury.
Oh,
I think.
Maybe that's what you're talking about? I'm not sure.
I don't know. You said Andrew walked to a restaurant. I couldn't think where there was one there. So
I know that I walked into Salisbury and got a deli sandwich for both of us and got breakfast, and then Beth kept on going on the trail. I did a quick little it looks like if I go into Salisbury and back to the trail, it's the same distance if I just stay on the trail. So I'll just go into town and get some more food.
And in fact, that was actually going to be my next question. I said you separated the next morning because for some reason Andrew wanted to go into Salisbury, and that obviously was for breakfast.
Yeah, so that must have been it. Yeah,
well, and it was funny because he was calling me, and then he said, well, let's go into Salisbury. I said, I already passed it. And he said, no, I can see you. And I said, I can't see you. And he thought this mailbox.
It was a mailbox. It was the way the mailbox went across, kind of like the top of her pack. And then there was a little bit of yellow or whatever on an electricity pole. So I thought that was her head. It's like, oh, there's Beth walking right there. Nope, mailbox.
Well, I'm sure that's something you've never been mistaken for in the past, Beth. Mailbox.
No, not at all. In fact.
And then you were by yourself, and you mentioned Mount Race and Mount Everett in sprinkling rain. From me, my memory is that Everett is quite the downhill. I seem to remember.
Yes.
What was that like in the rain?
It
It was tough enough in the dry.
It was, so it had just rained, and I thought, oh, great, it's rained, so it'll cool off and I'll be a little cooler. But then I wasn't even thinking, oh man, these rocks are going to be hard to go over after they've been wet. But yeah, that was quite the day.
But do you feel more of a comfort to have Andrew around when you're doing things like that? Because when you're by yourself and you fall, it's a pretty worrying moment. Was for me anyway.
I was really taking it easy, so I was okay with it, and I'm glad I didn't wait for him because as it was, he got lost.
Yeah. Now this has got to be the best story. So tell us, Andrew, you decided to take an alternate route. Is that right?
Well, so I was, however, far behind Beth, and then I get to the front of Race Mountain. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Mount Race.
Mount Race. and I filled up my water because it was kind of the last water for the next 2 big climbs.
Yeah.
And then my brain just said, oh, that was another good day. Shut down. And so I put my pack on and then just walked right back the direction that I came from for almost 2.5 miles.
2.5 miles?
Yeah, my brain just stopped. It was like, I'm done for the day. So I was just going to say, I put on an extra unneeded 5 miles. It was a 17-mile day and turned into a 22-mile day.
Oh my!
And he didn't even realize it until he saw some Boy Scouts.
I passed some Boy Scouts earlier in the day. I have a funny story about that too.
Oh, go on.
So these Boy Scouts that I'd already passed earlier in the day, I came up on them and they saw me and I saw them and I looked at them and was like, how did you get up here so fast? And they said, you're going the wrong way. I was like, no, that's impossible. But those Boy Scouts, I think going down those really long down of the rocks is when I passed them.
Wow.
Yeah, and this one teenage boy who's like 13, 14, he was just not having any of it. He was having a rough day. And he just stopped and he said, no more. He takes off his pack and just throws it down the rocks and it tumbles all the way down. I was like, yeah, buddy, I get it. I've been there.
Oh dear. So you just had a short day the following day, so you could get some new shoes in Great Barrington. Beth, how tough has it been in the other shoes? And you obviously were ready with new ones. And how are the new ones?
Well, so I ordered shoes half a size bigger, and that was a mistake because my feet were just going all over the place. So then somebody had suggested on Facebook, Great Barrington has a shoe store. So I'd called there, had them hold my shoes,
Sure.
and they had the shoes that I wanted. So now they're much better. Good. I think when I did that, I hurt my top of my foot just because it was sliding all over. And so now it feels better. And now the shoes are the right size again.
Good. You might make that mistake again. And the line after that about the shoes was another classic. You wrote, Andrew got sidetracked by trail magic about half a mile from the end, so I left him. I presume that wasn't out. I mean, are you coming upon trail magic? Because you are coming upon it so often. I know, and I just got a note before we started recording that yesterday you got 3 trail magics. I just can't believe this. So are you still treating it as the wonderful thing it is, or are you getting almost blasé about it now?
No, I mean, it's still awesome. Like, we met a guy yesterday, Mike was his name, and he had a tent and he had a fan in there, and he had like nectarines and a cooler and Gatorade, and it was really fun to talk to him. I actually, more than the food or anything else, I almost like talking to the people that are doing it and just finding out, like, well, why did you decide to do this, and how often do you do it? And he said he just does it when it's hot and he knows that, and humid, and he knows that hikers are going to need something.
Nice.
And so I still think it's awesome when you have that, because it's a way to connect with local people and people who love the trail. And yeah, it's great.
I presume it's because you can't possibly eat the amount Andrew eats, so he's got plenty of time to eat while you wander off, I suppose. And then you slack packed 2 days ago into Great Barrington with more trail magic, of course. So how do you normally slack back? Do you get driven out and then walk back south, or do you walk and get picked up and taken back at the end of the day?
Well, for this time, we had a shuttle driver that was bringing us into Great Barrington, and then he said he slack packed. So then we just said, like, what do you usually do? And he said, I can either bring you to where we stopped yesterday, today, and then you can go north, or the opposite. And we said, oh, no, we'd rather go north, because we knew it was going to rain and there are more uphills going north, and I'd rather go up in the rain than down. And so and then he picked us up at the end of the day. We called him, picked us up at the end of the day, and then brought us back the next morning. It was great. It was great to have that when I knew my tent wasn't probably going to do well, which, by the way, thank you very much for lending me your tent. I'll get that on Saturday or Friday.
Yeah.
And so I just knew, like, I didn't want to have to deal with that. So we knew it was going to rain, and just thought it was a good idea.
When you start the day, are you looking to slack pack more than do a full pack hike, or is it just a case of what, things come up and there's a conversation, or is it dependent? Or is it weather dependent generally?
Well, in the past, I'd say if it's in conversation, if we're talking to a shuttle driver, and then we'll just bring it up. Hey, do you offer slack pack? And we sure do. And then we'll do that. But sometimes it's weather dependent.
Yeah.
I heard it once referred to as slack packing opportunities, which is absolutely right. And last night, or 2 nights ago now, you were at Upper Goose Pond Cabin. What was your impression of the place and the community there? Because I think it's a real special place on the trail.
I thought it was really cool. They had a nice lake to go sit by, and the cabin, the guy that was running it, Vlobster, V with a lobster, Vlobster. He said that it was like somebody's old summer cabin that got converted into a hiker cabin, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Did you go for a swim? Go for a swim?
I rinsed off. I don't have any extra shorts. I just have to go in my birthday suit if I did.
Yeah, don't do that. it's not naked hiker day, so you pass that.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was full. Like, there were the bunk beds were almost all full. There was one above me, I think, that was empty by accident, and then there must have been. So there were like 14 upstairs, and there must have been at least 10 more, if not more, that were tenting.
And then
busy.
And then the Sobo people, they stopped at the cookie lady just before getting to the camp, and they picked a bunch of blueberries. Oh. So in the morning, Vlobster made pancakes for everybody and used these fresh blueberries that were just picked by the Sobo people.
So you met some Sobos. I know you're obviously meeting them more and more now, I guess. Are they telling you what's ahead? I mean, are they comparing stories with them?
They're saying, they're kind of just bringing up the whites on their own, really, because that's what everybody's asking about.
Yeah.
They just keep saying, take it slow and you'll be fine. Like, okay,
Dave's just got through the whites, and he's very grateful, by the way. He's got through them. He was exhausted by it. And over this year, this trial, and I think we pretty much know, you pretty much knew that you're always going to get a variety of weather. You've had cold, rain, heat, humidity. Have you had any snow, by the way?
No
snow.
Right. And bugs. But what's been the most challenging type of weather for the two of you individually? I mean, one of you might prefer one than the other. What's the most challenging for you?
I think the hot and humidity has been the vast majority of the type of weather that we've had to go through. Like, I'd say that's 95% of the weather.
Wow.
And then just a few times has it really rained on us, but it's been hot and humid. That's what it's been.
Yeah. And that, I think that is, it's tough when you're going uphill and you're just sweating. And so I would say too, hot and humid is kind of, I think, since the Shenandoahs.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. And I'll tell you, I'm looking at the map again today, and it's still going to be there for the next few days as well. So you've got really, really hot weather coming your way still. And now you mentioned the tent, and you first of all we said no, but then I've sent it and the sticks that go with it, which are weigh nothing, to make it a movable freestanding tent, which is really helpful, by the way. I've got to tell you, it said it would be there in Bennington by Monday night. Wasn't there on Tuesday, but apparently it arrived this morning to the post office.
Oh, good.
But it's also now left the post office. So I'm not wondering now where it's gone. I presume they're going to deliver it back to the post office in Bennington, but it should be there. You're going to get there Friday?
Yeah, we're going to get there Friday.
Okay. Well, look, it should be there, and I'm actually going to contact the place, and hopefully it's going to work out.
Oh, thank you.
Has yours got any worse?
No, because we haven't had rain, since I mean, it's great. It's a great tent, I had heard from somebody else that that happens after so long. Sometimes with Dyneema is that it just gets little pinholes in it, and I don't know.
Yeah, nasty.
And you know what? It's like 3 years old, and I mean, I've tinted a lot in it, so I guess, you know.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that mine, even though it's 6 years old, has been washed and it's clean. So I said,
Oh my God.
All right.
That's awesome.
Anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. You're in Dalton, and no doubtless eating again. And yeah, we'll catch up again next week. Okay.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers then. Bye. I truly cannot remember anyone receiving so much trail magic on a hike. As I said, 2 days ago, they had 3 sessions. It is awesome. And going 2.5 miles backwards may seem a bit odd, but I did it myself in 2014, even though it was only a couple of 100 yards, maybe 400 yards. You can quickly get turned around out there, and I can tell you, it happens way more than you may think. And I'm glad that Beth took my tent. It served me really well, so I hope she enjoys using it and it carries her to Katahdin. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is a new private Facebook group that I've set up called Off Trail with Mighty Blue. This is going to be an invitation-only page with supporters of the podcast getting invited to participate in hiking talk and the future direction and content of the show. There will be occasional polls, general questions, and lots of other stuff that I'm going to be generating in the coming months. I hope that those of you who support me will enjoy what's on offer now, and I hope equally that some of you will be inspired to support the shows and join this like-minded community. I hope to see you all on the inside, and we'll be sending out invitations to the Facebook group in the coming week. Finally today, though I'm going to add something after this interview, we catch up with Dave. He and the Over the Hill gang have been battling painfully through the White Mountains, and at last they're through. Here's Dave. Hey Dave, how are you today?
Doing fantastic on top of another mountaintop.
There's a certain resignation when you say that, by the way.
I think it's resignation, I think is what you're hearing.
Yeah, and you're on board, Pate. That climb up is quite dramatic, isn't it?
Yep, come up and out of Grafted Notch, and we'd found some trail magic, so that helped a little bit.
Oh, God. Everyone's getting trail magic this year. Well, nobody's getting it like Beth and Andrew, though, but, you know, you guys seem to be doing okay as well. And when we spoke last week, you were going to be climbing Washington the following day, and I know it was going to be quite a long one. You were going to end at Osgood campsite. Tell us how that day went.
Well, that was about 14 miles. We left at about, 5:30 a.m. from the Mizpah Hut campground called Nauman campsite, and went up and over Washington. The first 6-odd miles, which gets you to the top of Mount Washington, it's fine. It's climbing. We do a lot of climbing, so we're kind of used to it.
Sure.
We sat and had some food in the cafeteria, and there was some people there. Then more people showed up. And it was a beautiful morning, a little cool and windy. We sat there for maybe 45 minutes. By the time we got up and outside, it was so windy and foggy you couldn't see 6 feet in front of you.
Yeah. Lost you again.
No, I'm here.
There you go. Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it was disappointing because we wanted to get some pictures that we didn't take before we went inside.
Well, you know, the odds are against you getting decent weather on Washington, aren't they? I mean, I was lucky last time. We actually hiked up Washington, and then we got a lift down from Washington, and then went back up the next morning. And both days it was beautiful sunshine. It was just amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, that's one way to do it. There's actually somewhere along the way there would have been some thought about doing it in that way. We're coming down off the mountain and then going back up, but it didn't manifest. So we headed down to the Osgood campsite, and that's the longest 8 miles on the entire trail. I'll tell you.
Hang on. Before that, though, you've got to go up to Madison, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Well, of course that's true. So you come down from Washington, and it's a rocky mess, and it's painful, and it's bad. Yeah. Then you climb up Mount Madison, which is a steep, another climb.
Loved it. That was my favorite climb.
Yeah, Madison was beautiful, but then coming down, it's the worst talus field, they call it, the broken rocks, the big broken rocks, and you do it for 6-7 miles, and even the last mile
longer. Seems a lot longer.
When you say it, in the context of the miles we do on a daily basis, it doesn't seem like much. When you're doing it and it takes you 7 hours to do 8 miles, it does seem like a long time.
But you know what? I always remember, it's stuck in my mind as probably one of the hardest parts of the trail for a down anyway. But, you still get there in camp and you set yourself up. I think they had tent platforms in Osgood, if I remember, for some reason.
Yes.
And it was just great you got there. You may have been exhausted. It's that type 2 fun again, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the problem with it is that it's exhausting and it takes a really long time. But it's the danger, and I use that term loosely. I mean, we talk about danger in many ways.
Yeah.
I don't really concern myself I'm going to tumble down a mountain per se, but it's the danger of the one misstep, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's a lot of potentially one missteps there. So yeah, you arrive at camp, and that's an exhausting but a wonderful relief to hit that campsite, because it also kind of signaled the beginning of the end. It wasn't the end of the whites, but at least it was the end of that part.
Yeah, I know it's not the end, because you got the Carters to go over the next day, and you
exactly.
put in a 15-mile day again. I mean, considering that the Over the Hill gang comprises more senior guys, how's everybody else coping with the whites?
Everybody's strong. I mean, so it's we're all managing. I mean, we're tired at the end of the day. Couple of people got beat up coming down that Madison side, sore ankles and things like that. But we're coping. We're all sort of within an equal strength level. We keep up with each other, so it's working out.
And the next day you're in Gorham, and the whites were done. Looking back, how do you reflect upon them? Are they what you'd expect? I know you were warned about them all the time, and I was kind of joking about it and that, but they are difficult, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that they're as difficult as people talk about, but not necessarily the way you might imagine. First off, people tend to want to fearmonger them. I don't know what it is. Everybody just wants to wind everybody up about it. And, you're hiking, you got to get out and hike. They're difficult in the way of, we're used to difficult. We climb hard mountains and we sweat and we keep slogging up hills and we slog up down hills. They're difficult mechanically. The mechanics of the hikes, the rock faces, and
Sure.
and the climb down from Madison. Yes. And so when you talk about cutting your mileage down, it isn't because they're difficult. It's because your pace is so slow. I mean, there are times you're keeping 1.5 mile an hour pace when you've been keeping 2.5, 2.7 sometimes. And so
yes.
You just can't get the miles in. I mean, you don't want to necessarily. It's, you're doing 5,000 up and 5,000 down over 12 miles.
Yeah.
But it's the mechanics of it that really drive the difficulty.
But I know you're starting quite early, which I could never do. So I guess that, I think that's the one thing of all my hiking I've ever done. I wish I could change. I could start a bit earlier. But the next day you took a Nero in Gorham. Where'd you stay?
We stayed at the Barn Hostel, right in the middle of town.
Is that the one with loads? You go upstairs and there's quite a few.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty good place to start. But it was when I went there anyway. I was there as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it's right around the corner from a brew pub. So
there you go. And and the following day was Sunday, and there's a bit of a clue in that. And you lost Father Tom for the day.
Yeah,
I don't know really why that was.
Well, Father Tom, I hadn't described necessarily. He's a retired firefighter from New York City, and he's a religious man, and so he, no matter where he is on trail, every Sunday he finds his way into a town and attends church services. And I want to also mention about Father Tom. He's doing the Eastern Continental Trail.
Oh, wow.
He's 59 years old. He started in Key West, Florida. He has done 3,600, 3,800 miles already.
Wow.
At this point. It's just insane. He's a tough guy, and I really give him a lot of credit. A really wonderful human being. And so Sunday we lost him because he needed to go to church services, but he still made it. He left after church services and made it to the campsite that we headed out for much earlier. So he arrived, I don't know, 7 p.m., but he was there. So
that is so good. That is so, I know there are a lot of people who I found were spiritual or religious on trail, and I always respect them if that's what they're going to do, stop for the day. And but the fact that he does his service and then gets out again is very cool.
Yeah. Well, he's got a lot. Sorry, I'll finish. He's got a lot of miles to go. He's got to finish in Newfoundland, and it's not looking like he's gonna make it. Before serious weather sets in. He's got a couple thousand miles. I don't know. It's just insane. It's over 5,000 miles.
Yeah, it's a fantastic idea, but I think the making that work it will be tough. Yeah. So then after 13 states, you reach Maine. How did that feel?
Relief is one word. Exhilarating, exhausting.
I bet.
A little bit of everything. I think, the funny thing is I was joking around with the guys is that every time since day one, if somebody would say, "Hey, what are you doing? Or hiking the Appalachian Trail. Where are you going?" "I'm going to Maine." well, okay, now I'm in Maine. So what do I say now? I'm in Maine.
Yeah.
Now I got to say I'm going to Katahdin. But
That's right.
but you can't tell that to people in North Carolina who have no idea what you're doing. You say you're going to Maine, at least they understand the magnitude of what you're up to. So now we're in Maine. 200, I don't know, 50 something miles to go.
It's remarkable, how this has come down. Really,
Yeah.
It's been an epic journey. It is always an epic journey for everybody, but you actually are in Maine, and it's you kind of look back and you think that one little thin strip of land has led me here. It's just amazing. And your notes refer to a tent-to-tent conversation when you're stuck in your tents because of rain. You start chatting. I remember a few of those. They can be quite intimate, even though you can't see one another. In fact, I recall thinking how important face-to-face conversation is. Did you find that?
Well, it is interesting because you have normal conversation. I mean, there was the night we got in a couple nights ago, and Fission has tent on the platform next to mine. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned Fission's was a nuclear engineer in the Navy. So Fission,
good name.
He has his degree in nuclear engineering and the like. He's the elder statesman of the group. He's 62, and he's probably the strongest hiker in the group as well. He slowed down to stay with us here at the end. He caught up. I hiked with him in the Shenandoahs some. I hiked with him New Jersey, New York a little bit. And then he was off trail for a wedding, and then he got back on in Rutland and ran into Brightside, who we left in Rutland, and she gave him my contact, and he caught up to us in Hanover because he wanted at that point to slow the roll and finish with a group, and so he's excited, and we're all happy to be part of the group. But he's in the tent right next to me on the platform. These these insanely thin sheets of your tent is made of.
I lost you a second. I lost you a second. Are you there?
Okay, I'm here.
You said something like insanely. I'll tell you why your speaker's gone off. You said something like insanely thin sheets. So go from there.
Yeah, I said insanely thin sheets of Dyneema or whatever your tent is made of is all that separates you and the neighbor next to you.
Yes, yes.
And we sat there and we talked for like 2 hours, just back and forth through the tent, right? I mean, as if we were sitting face to face at a
It's very much a trail thing. It really is, and I remember thinking that as well. And the next day, of course, was the notch and mostly notch. Personally, I absolutely loved it. Both times I did it. How did it go for you?
Well, I'll say I loved the first half hour, 45 minutes of it. Then it got tedious, but mostly because it came at the end of a 13-mile day.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough.
Yeah. So we had decided it worked mechanically because there's a tent site right after the notch and right before you climb up Mahuzac Arm. So we said, okay, we'll get there, split the notch from the arm.
Yeah.
And so it came at the end of that day, and it's entertaining for a while, but as you're aware, when you've got 30 odd pounds on your back, swinging you from side to side, and you're trying to pick which line to go, it was fun and then at some point you're like, okay, I've had enough. Get me off this carnival ride. I've gotten my 50 cents worth, and let me go get some let me get some popcorn.
It's still a special part of the trail, though, and I strongly recommend to people to try to do it first thing in the morning when you are stronger as well. I think you might enjoy it a little bit more because it's pretty epic, all the clambering over boulders, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think you're right about that. I think reaching it at the end of the day, it made it harder, not meaningfully harder enough not to make it more it was dangerous enough. It makes it a little bit more dangerous to be that fatigued, but you're also now utilizing a whole bunch of muscles you haven't been playing with for a while.
Yes.
So maybe you're still strong enough to manage, and so it was fine. I mean, it took us an hour and a half. We stopped at the end at water for about 10-15 minutes. So I think it was an hour 45, but I think that included the water break, which is about 0.2 before the end of the.
We went through on a sunny day, and we took 3 hours because we stopped for lunch. We were there sitting on the rocks for about an hour. It was great.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Why not? Yeah.
And once you're through, you found a campsite, and you mentioned that. And I don't remember that, actually. So that's before you climb up the arm. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
And in your campsite, there was a bunch of 12 to 15-year-olds from an outdoor summer camp. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, this tent site is there. It's not official. It's one of the ones that's marked on Far Out.
Right.
And and the notation was tent sites, for, half dozen tents. I'm like,
Right.
great.
Yeah.
There's half dozen of us.
Yes.
Right. So we get there and there's two giant tents with a bunch of kids, kids, young adults, another couple of small of tents with other hikers. And, kind of my shoulders sagged a little as I walked up. I'm like, God, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
Because we just come out of the notch. We're dead tired from the day.
Yes.
And one of the counselor people came up to me and greeted me and talked to me for a few minutes, said, no, we'll make room, we'll move things around. And kids got up and they were excited and they took these giant tents, which good thing they were freestanding, and they moved them, just kind of picked them up, moved them out of the way into another area and created space. And so we ended up in the end with plenty of space and they were excited, and it was some kind of outdoor youth outdoor camp from New Hampshire, and all these youngsters were out, and they had done the notch that day themselves. And so they had questions, and I finally told the counselor, I said, look, after we get settled, have some dinner. If the kids want to sit down for some kind of Q&A, I'd be happy to do that. And they were all excited. So we sat there for maybe an hour, sitting on the and there was like at least a dozen of them, and they'd raise their hand. How about this? I do that. But they were also first off, very well mannered, but also very well educated. They had good questions. They weren't dumb questions that really, really thoughtful questions that made sense in relation to a long distance hike. So I give them a lot of credit for being, well mannered, but also very independent and very able to, they were dealing with their own stuff. The counselors actually set up a camp, a couple 100 yards away in another part of the woods. And so it was intentional. They're supposed to have this sort of independent,
yes,
space.
Nice. Yeah.
Of course, they were independent from the counselors, but they were 20 feet from us. So.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It takes a while for quieting kids down, doesn't it, sometimes? So you went up the arm, I presume, this morning, did you?
Yes, the arm this morning. And we're still not done with the day. I've got another mountain. I'm staring at it as we speak. Another mile and a half to the top of that before I can go down and get to the lean-to, the Fry Notch lean-to.
I remember so much of this, I tell you. The ball place is just this very special hot sunny day for me, and I think the picture on my Hiking Radio Network page is of me sitting looking out at Baldpate Mountain, and it's just such a fantastic memory in my mind. So look, you're really having great times now. I know you're into Maine.
Absolutely.
You're nearly there. I want to keep reminding you though, you've got to get ready got to start thinking about your pose for Katahdin. Very important. Right?
I'll make sure they take 20 or 30 pictures. Something has to work out, right?
At least. Okay, mate. Well, take it easy, okay? And we'll catch up again next week.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Cheers then. Bye.
Okay, bye.
It is so impressive the mileage those old guys are putting in. The whites aren't easy, yet all of them seem to have coped with the rigours and the stress the whites put upon you every single day. The big surprise for me was the beauty and ruggedness of the first part of Maine, with some epic mountains still to come for Dave and the team. By the way, he wanted me to share with you all that one of the guys, Waterslide, has a YouTube channel under LT Hikes. I've added that link to the show notes in case you'd like to check it out. So that's it for episode 500. I started this little show in September 2016, and I know it's meant a lot to many of you. I can tell that from the emails and texts I receive every week. It's also meant a lot to me, In that time, I've gone on to hike the AT for a second time, 2 Caminos, 3 failed John Muir Trail attempts, 1 successful Mount Whitney summit, as well as a few other wonderful hikes in England and Scotland. But it hasn't all been plain sailing. During the time this podcast has been on, I've gotten divorced. My son, Rob, has died. And this year, my former wife, Diane, also died. I've also found a new love in Dana and bought a new home with her. And let's not forget that supraventricular tachycardia that I mentioned with Dixie. But through it all, my constant has been you guys, my listeners. Whatever has been going on in my heart, it's always been a joy to come to my microphone each week, engage with you all. You've made me make the effort, and I'm so grateful. I'm not sure if we're ever going to reach episode 1000, but the only way we will is to come back next week, and the week after, and the week after that, until we get, very much like completing an Appalachian Trail through hike, to our own Katahdin. I'll see you next week.